Tonight on KVR News,
an update on the 85th Texas legislative session.
Order Up, the Texas School for the Deaf serves up some pancakes for the 10th annual benefit breakfast.
And we investigate the gender disparity within UT's engineering majors.
You're watching KVR News, your leader for live, local UT coverage.
Broadcasting live from the Texas Student Television Studios at the University of Texas. You're watching KVR News at 9, Austin's leader for live local UT coverage. Your news starts right now.
Good evening and welcome back to KVR News for Monday, February 6th. I'm Brianna Rodriguez.
And I'm Claudia Jimenez. Thank you for joining us.
A decision by the U.S. Court of Appeals suspended President Trump's travel ban, allowing visa holders from the 7 majority Muslim countries to enter the U.S. for the time being. Federal Judge James Robart originally halted the executive order on Friday. His decision came after the states of Washington and Minnesota took legal actions against the travel ban, claiming it was unconstitutional.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection stated procedures should continue as if the executive order never happened. The State Department will reinstate revoked visas electronically. However, those with physically revoked visas must visit an embassy or consulate. President Trump expressed outrage over the suspension of his executive order, claiming national security remains at risk. His administration is expected to respond to the travel ban suspension this evening.
The American Civil Liberties Union received over $24 million in donations in the weekend following President Trump's travel ban. This is 6 times the donations the ACLU receives in any given year. Many of the donations came from people who never supported the organization before. In addition, the ACLU gained more than 150,000 new members. These funds will help support the ACLU's efforts to challenge portions of President Trump's immigration ban in court.
Over 450 people signed up to speak at a committee hearing on SB 4, also known as the Sanctuary City Bill. The bill requires local jailing authorities such as the Travis County Sheriff's Office to cooperate with immigration officials. Additionally, it takes away state funding from countries that do not comply with the bill. Governor Greg Abbott strongly supports the bill, declaring it an emergency. Despite the opposition, SB 4 remains on the floor and awaits further discussion. But this is only one of the many bills at the forefront of the 85th Texas legislation session.
Absolutely, Claudia. After being elected, Governor Greg Abbott vowed to prioritize ethics within the Texas legislature. In response, Senator Van Taylor introduced an ethics reform proposal late January. The bill, also known as SB 14, will force government officials to disclose if they own at least 50% of a firm or company the government may work with. Opponents say that the 50% margin is too high, calling it a loophole. Instead, they argue the ownership margin be changed to 5%.
And you know, Brianna, despite some opposition to this bill, political reporters expect the Texas Senate to easily pass, making it the first piece of legislation passed this session. A bill to reform child protective services received praise and criticism after a public hearing. The bill requires children to receive a medical examination within 3 days of entering care. Additionally, the bill would allow a nonprofit organization to make key decisions about the cases of certain children. This means discussions could be taken without state permission.
This isn't the first time the Texas legislative session put CPS reform on the agenda. Every session, officials demand better care for children in the system and less employee turnover. But this session, the discussion seemed to be more serious. Child deaths have increased and officials failed to catch serious cases of child abuse.
Because of these growing problems, Governor Greg Abbott named CPS an emergency priority. As a result, lawmakers will be able to act on this legislation within the first 60 days in session. We're hoping the legislative session will resolve these issues and help all children in foster care. A $5 million grant from the Texas Education Agency will allow a program at UT to expand across the state. We Teach CS prepares Texas teachers to become certified in computer science. With this grant, teacher education initiatives will increase and pilot teacher externship projects will be funded. Half of the grant will be used to fund 29 computer science collaboratives around the state. We Teach CS comes from the College of Education Center for STEM Education, where there has been a dramatic increase in certified science teachers in Texas.
The only residential campus in Texas that houses students who are deaf or hard of hearing hosted a tasty fundraiser this weekend. KVR was at the stage to see exactly what's been going on. The Texas School for the Deaf has found a new way to bring a community together with a fundraiser. Their technique, all-you-can-eat pancakes. These pancakes aren't just a tasty way to fundraise, but a reason to bring the hearing and deaf or hard of hearing communities together. The school is the only residential campus made specifically for deaf or hard of hearing students in the state of Texas. However, an approximate 75% of deaf or hard of hearing students are mainstreamed into public schools, where they are either entered into a day program or put in classes with an interpreter. Many of these students experience bullying and mistreatment from their peers, which have been found to cause depression and anxiety among students.
Often deaf students are isolated and lonely in the public school because their disability is a communication disability, and often they don't have age-appropriate peers, often they don't have deaf adult role models, so it can be a very, very lonely experience in the mainstream. Advocates for mainstreaming deaf and hard of hearing students have rallied for public schools, saying it is vital for social integration to occur between the deaf and hearing communities.
But we bring the public in where they can interact with the deaf community, because a lot of times the deaf community kind of feels a little isolated.
While academia and social integration have large parts to play in a child's education, some say that the most important part of a deaf student's environment is experiencing deaf culture firsthand.
It's a whole different culture, it's a whole different language, and really any culture, any language is like just amazing to learn about and to experience.
Brianna Rodriguez, KVR News. About 1 in 6 people lose some degree of hearing over their life. It affects more people than we know. It's always heartwarming to see the Austin community coming together to support a great cause.
Within UT's Cockrell School of Engineering, the ratio of males to females remains extremely unbalanced despite a number of national efforts to get girls involved in STEM majors. The college teaches over 2,000 more males than females per year, and an overwhelming majority of the students identify as either white or Asian. Tune into next week's show as KVR investigates the gender disparity throughout the years. We'll have more news after the break.
Coming up next, how President Trump may affect the e-cigarette industry.
And stay tuned to see if Texas's very own BK Bob predicts a longer winter or an early spring.
We'll have more coming up on KVR News.
Have a news tip or story idea? Call the KVR News tip line, 475-8181.
The family of David Joseph may receive up to $2 million from the city of Austin to settle a wrongful death suit. Almost exactly 1 year ago, APD officer Jeffrey Freeman shot and killed a 17-year-old David Joseph. At the time, the teen was naked and unarmed. However, dash camera video confirmed Joseph charged Officer Freeman before he fired his weapon. City attorneys say the proposal must still undergo revisions. The Austin City Council will reveal the final deal next week. If Joseph's family accepts the offer, City Council will formally vote on the measure and officially close Joseph's case. Mikael Kreiner, the suspect in the murder of Harika Weiser, will not stand trial until March as the court awaits DNA results from the Austin police. APD's forensic lab closed last June due to improper and outdated methods. This created a backlog of forensic tests. The Texas Department of Public Safety will process the tests for trial. Kreiner will appear in court on March 23rd, and if convicted, he will be sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 40 years.
It's almost been a year since the death of Harika Weiser. Throughout the school year, UT took efforts to improve student safety on campus. SureWalk, a student government-run agency, extended their hours, operating from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. They reassure students it's always okay to ask for company on your way home because safety comes first.
Student government took that message to heart last semester. Chief of Staff Isaiah Carter created Wise Walks, a map that will provide students with information about the safest streets in West Campus. The map will be released sometime this spring semester.
In addition to these student-run safety efforts, UT administration placed a number of safety reminders all across campus. However, despite these efforts, a number of students still worry about the lack of lighting in certain areas of West Campus and North Campus. Experts in the electronic industry look to President Trump to end an FDA rule that threatens to wipe out a majority of vape businesses across the U.S. The FDA passed a rule forcing e-cigarette vendors to submit pre-tobacco market applications in addition to an application fee. Vendors say they simply cannot afford the costs and face closure. The Center for Disease Control released a report stating that e-cigarettes remain harmful to youth and are an unhealthy practice. However, e-cigarette experts urge Trump to fight the policy, arguing they benefit public health and help those who want to quit smoking. An international consortium based at UT Austin received a 5-year grant totaling $29 million. The grant will fund research for more effective treatments of alcoholism. Scientists will try to find drugs to revert an alcoholic's brain into a non-alcoholic's brain. To do so, the consortium will use brain gene studies, brain imaging, and human lab studies to identify and test potential treatments. Currently, 17.6 million Americans suffer from alcohol abuse or dependence.
Heinz Ketchup launched a campaign to make the Monday after the Super Bowl a national holiday called Smonday. The company cited statistics saying more than 16 million people call in sick or don't show up for work on the Monday after the Super Bowl. According to Heinz, this accounts for a $1 billion loss in productivity nationwide. The company created a petition and only needs about 15,000 more signatures to reach its 75,000 goal. The company says it needs 100,000 signatures to send the petition to Congress.
Here in Central Texas, we don't celebrate Groundhog Day, we celebrate Armadillo Day. The star of the show, this little guy called Bee Cave Bob. Unlike Punxsutawney Phil from Pennsylvania, Bee Cave Bob did not see his shadow, meaning spring is closer than we thought. The event took place at the West Pole in Bee Cave, Texas. However, according to KXAN meteorologist David Jimenez says if the drop in temperature is any indication that we might be in for some colder weather, like Phil predicted.
It seems like for the past couple of years, Punxsutawney Phil has seen his shadow. Personally, I have my fingers crossed that Texas's very own Bee Cave Bob got it right and spring is coming soon.
I couldn't agree more. Our Danielle Ransom has the weather forecast for this week. Danielle?
Well, Brianna and Claudia, Bee Cave Bob was only right for part of this week's forecast. I'll have more on this after the break. Stay tuned.
You're watching KVR News at 9. Your campus, your news.
Wow, the weekend was definitely a doozy, starting out with cold winds and a slight drizzle for much of Saturday, only to heat right back up in time just for the Super Bowl. Good news is that same sunny weather appears to be the trend for a good portion of this week, with lower temperatures expected later in the week. Tuesday morning will have some slight fog early in the morning that will clear into sunny skies with a temperature high of 89 degrees and a low of 56. Winds are expected to hold well into Wednesday evening. The temperature in the day will still be nice, 85 degrees and a low of 51. Be sure to pack a jacket Thursday and Friday as there will be a drop in temperatures, with Thursday forecasted at 69 degrees and a low of 49. Friday will have a high at 73 degrees and a low of 60, but the sun will be out for most of those days. Saturday will be mostly sunny with a high near 80 and a low around 62. Sunday is the day to watch with a 20% chance of showers and a forecasted temperature of 73 degrees, and the low will be 51 with a 40% chance of rain and thunderstorms. Remember, always have an umbrella and jacket on hand, as Texas is still technically in winter until March, and rain is typical during this season. This was Danielle Ransom live in the Weather Center with KVR News. Back to our hosts, Brianna and Claudia.
Thanks, Danielle.
We'll be back with Emily Stone from College Press Box after the break.
You're watching KVR News at 9. Your campus, your news.
Welcome back to KVR News. The Texas women's basketball team faced Kansas State at the Frank Erwin Center on Saturday. The Longhorns were led by freshman forward Joyner Holmes, who put up 21 points en route to the Longhorns' 63-58 win over the Wildcats. The Longhorns continue their Big 12 play against Baylor tonight in Waco, winning against the Bears with a final score of 85-79. With this win, Texas tied for the record of the most wins in the Big 12. Texas men's basketball fell to TCU 78-63 on Saturday at Schollmeyer Arena in Fort Worth. The Horned Frogs win earned TCU its first season sweep of the Longhorns since the 1986-1987 season. Texas falls to 9-14 on the season and 3-7 in the Big 12 play. The Horns will face Iowa State right here in Austin on Tuesday.
The Texas men's basketball team has 8 conference games left in the regular season. What can Longhorn fans expect from the young squad under Shaka Smart's leadership throughout the remaining schedule?
You know, hopefully we can expect some improvement from these guys. They have been working really hard. They seem to start every game off working and playing really well, and then they kind of just seem to burn out towards the end of the game. So hopefully we can just see a little bit more endurance and a little bit more spread out even play, and hopefully we can see some wins up on that scoreboard.
All right, thanks for joining us. Emily, our Katie Balevic is here to tell us what's happening in Hollywood. Katie?
Lady Gaga's Super Bowl performance results in mixed reviews on social media. Pop star sensation Selena Gomez has her Selenators wondering whether or not a new music video is on the way. And we finally have answers to the viral video surrounding a dog's purpose. Stick around for more KVR news.
You're watching KVR News at 9. Your campus, your news.
Lady Gaga literally dove into the Super Bowl 51 halftime show. Gaga opened the show with the patriotic hit "This Land Is Your Land" before performing a medley of her greatest hits, including "Born This Way" and "Just Dance." Many viewers went to Twitter to comment on the lack of politics in her performance, while others hoped for more. Gaga took to Twitter later on in the evening to announce the world tour for her album, Joanne. Is Selena Gomez preparing for her musical comeback? The singer teased a snippet of what appears to be a new song on her Instagram story. The song featured an EDM background with Gomez's vocals most prominent on the track. The actress turned singer turned producer went on a hiatus after ending her tour early to focus on her physical and mental health. After further investigation by an American humane third party, it has been reported that the mistreatment of the German Shepherd, Hercules, in the film A Dog's Purpose was edited to appear misleading to the public. According to American Humane's website, the 2 scenes in the video were actually filmed at separate times. It also stated that during the first scene, after Hercules showed signs of distress, he was immediately removed from the water and was never placed in the water involuntarily. Hercules was chosen for the role because of his love for swimming, and there were eyewitness reports that stated during the last scene he wanted to get back into the water. American Humane is unsure of who is responsible or the motive behind it, but we are glad to know that Hercules is okay. Live in the studio, I'm Katie Balevic. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Katie, and thank you for tuning in.
Be sure to follow us for news updates throughout the week. You can follow us on Twitter at KVR News or like us on Facebook. I'm Claudia Jimenez.
And I'm Brianna Rodriguez. Stay tuned for College Press Box up next on Texas Student Television. Have a great week.